Hi, this is Colin from the History Pilgrim. I hope you are enjoying my videos and would be interested to hear your comments. Be sure to like and share with a friend. New York, New York, the Big Apple, the city that never sleeps among its many monikers. New York City often feels like it's the center of all the attention in the United States. New York City is, after all, the largest city in the US, with over 27 million people calling the greater New York City area home. This means that over 3 times as many people live in the New York City metropolitan area compared to the greater Chicago area. New York City is also the most photographed city on the planet and home to the 2 largest stock exchanges on Earth. New York City has by far the largest population and economy of any metropolis in the US. One has to wonder how NYC grew to be such a massive city compared to other American cities. To find out how New York City became the giant metropolis it is today, one needs to look at the historical factors that led to New York City's growth. It is worth noting that New York City began as a Dutch trading settlement where the Hudson River empties out into the Atlantic Ocean. It trailed behind other American cities during the Revolutionary period. Cities such as Boston and Philadelphia were the nation's 2 largest cities. New York City really wasn't much of a big city at all, with it only a small port city until construction began on the Erie Canal. Before the construction of the Erie Canal in 1817, the population of New York City was less than 70,000 people. The Erie Canal was largely built by Irish immigrants to link the Hudson River to Lake Erie. With the opening of the Erie Canal, vast amounts of raw materials could be shipped in bulk and cheaply all over the globe. Unlike Boston further to the north, NYC has a huge navigable river with a direct link to a Great Lake, which allowed massive shipping of all the agricultural products of the Midwest US and Canada. So heavy was the shipping of grain in particular down the Erie Canal, Syracuse, New York became nicknamed Flour City due to all the flour milling. Small villages began to skyrocket into major cities along the Erie Canal with the creation of jobs in manufacturing. Because the amount of shipping which was passing through the port of New York City to global markets, the federal government was quick to designate Ellis Island as the main immigration port into the U.S. This was perfect timing for New York City to become the main port of immigration into the young nation, as major tragedies were occurring across Europe. In the 1840s, the potato blight struck Ireland, leading to massive famine and loss of farms, resulting in the mass exodus of Irish citizens. Poor farming in Sicily led to huge numbers of poor Italians fleeing to overcrowded Rome, only to face increased challenges and discrimination. Polish Jews were facing hatred and violence and were seeking a better life abroad. The United States, being a country based on the principles of religious tolerance, was a country willing to welcome the persecuted and desperate to help build this new nation. Today, only one city on Earth, Tel Aviv, Israel, has a larger Jewish population than New York City. New York City is also the center of the Catholic faith in the U.S. due to the immigration from countries such as Poland, Ireland, Italy, and the Dominican Republic. As so many immigrants were pouring in from overseas, New York City quickly became the largest city in the U.S. As New York City increased in importance as a global center of trade and immigration, the main stock market of the U.S. relocated to Wall Street. New immigrants found no challenges in finding job opportunities in New York City. The textile industry, which relied on southern-grown cotton in particular, became a huge part of the exports out of New York City. As New York City became more of an industrial city, so too did New York City become an important insurance market. As more businesses located to take advantage of the excellent harbor for shipping, more companies demanded insurance in case their ventures proved unprofitable. Today, some of the world's top insurance companies, such as MetLife, are located in New York City. With New York City, the main center for immigration and international trade for the U.S., other cities in more landlocked regions benefited from all the rail tracks passing out of New York City. Eventually, the New York Central Railroad would become among the most important rail systems on Earth. Most German and Scandinavian immigrants arriving at Ellis Island moved further inland towards the Midwest. Irish, Polish, and Italians stayed in major cities. At one point, the Lower East Side was the most densely populated location on Earth. World War II would see the U.S. emerge as a global superpower. Due to all the banks based in the U.S. which were instrumental in rebuilding Japan and Europe, NYC became the top finance center for the Earth. The establishment of the United Nations in NYC would further cement NYC as one of the most important cities on the planet. With automobiles once a toy for the rich now widely available, suburbanization would take off in the 1950s. Due to most people moving into suburbs in the New York City area after World War II, this made more space available than ever in the city itself for vertical growth. With labor becoming cheaper in countries such as China and Mexico, factories which built American products began to leave the U.S. Industrial zones in New York City were bulldozed over to make way for constructing more skyscrapers than ever before. One might argue the automobile was the breakthrough which cemented New York City as the massive city it is today. With the countless tunnels and bridges into the city, people no longer needed to live near where they worked, which made it so either the extremely rich or extremely poor lived in the city itself. As Europe and Asia grappled with the post-war reconstruction, New York City became a magnet for foreign investment. The stability and economic strength of the U.S. attracted international businesses seeking a safe haven for their capital. The city's finance markets provided a platform for foreign investors to participate in the economic growth of the U.S., further growing New York City as a global economic center. The New York City Stock Exchange solidified this position as the world's most powerful and important stock exchange. With all the flow of money into the U.S., new global finance companies were created. The Empire State Building, which had been largely empty during the Great Depression, was suddenly home to more businesses than any other office building on Earth during the 1950s. NYC would see a spike in crime in the 1970s previously unseen in U.S. history. New York City would nearly go bankrupt due to loans by the federal government and overspending on policing. Due to a combination of the crack cocaine epidemic, economic inequality in certain neighborhoods, and most strangely of all, the lead exhaust from bumper-to-bumper traffic, NYC at this point was nicknamed a crime-ridden relic of the past. The rebirth of Wall Street in the 1980s, combined with the largest police force of any city on Earth, would see things finally turn around for New York City. By the 1990s, the then New York City mayor adopted a broken window policy and a ban on the sex worker industry in Times Square. This, along with turning to Disney for help, would see the once not family-friendly and seedy area becoming a flourishing tourist attraction. Of course, New York City would start the new millennium with its worst day ever. The 9/11 attack saw the majority of its deaths at the World Trade Center, which was destroyed in the attacks. The September 11th attacks cost over $100 billion in damages. The 9/11 attacks also caused lasting respiratory issues in Chinatown and Little Italy and was the deadliest day for firefighters in U.S. history. By November 2006, construction would begin on the new One World Trade Center, which is now the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere. The massive expenses required to build the Freedom Tower meant that during its early years, many of the floors were vacant due to the rent prices that needed to be incredibly high. The tower itself did lead to the construction of a new transportation hub in the financial district, as well as the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, which provides a space for reflection and remembrance. Due to remote working, which continues to this day, as well as rent prices which are off the charts, New York City is struggling more than ever to keep residents living in the city itself. The lower costs in undesirable areas has seen unsavory individuals to come and live in some areas of the city, bringing issues with crime and poverty to the city. Additionally, some of the most expensive apartment towers on Earth, such as Central Park Tower, has drawn some of the world's richest people to live in New York City. Hopefully, the future will bring more growth than ever to the Big Apple, despite all the challenges the city continues to face. In conclusion, there are a number of reasons why New York City is so huge and important compared to other American cities. Perhaps visiting New York City yourself will help answer some of these questions. I hope you've enjoyed my video. Thanks for listening. Sincerely, the History Pilgrim.